Okay, good evening, everyone. We meet again today in this evening session of Mahari Contextual Method. And today we will learn again about bamboo engineering with Markus Roselieb. As previously, we also learning about bamboo from IBUKU. So will be very insightful and wonderful session with Markus to us gaining the knowledge of the bamboo as well. So I hope you are doing well and you are in a good, safe and a good condition to join us today. And my name is Satria. As the host today will present you the session. And the next slide, please. So before the session, I will introduce you about us, Mahari again. So we started with the philosophy of home for restless spirits, which aim to be a forum that facilitates access to teaching and becomes a meeting point between students, academics, and practitioners. Book writing and editorial is done in Omah with the spirit of sharing knowledge. Through literacy, we try to start a discussion that answers the various challenges that exist in the field of architecture, starting from of theory, criticism, and methods, investigation, as well as archiving and addressing architectural works. Next. And our previous webinar also have edited and documented well in our platform. You can access it in omahalgori.org. And we have uploaded some renowned webinars such as Arsitektur Nusantara, criticism, form, Darah Muda, and many things as well. And you can explore it for free. Next. And in this next are the part of Contextual Method webinar series, which today we are already in the 6th session with Markus Roselieb, and the next week we will have built with Paulus Mintarga. We had 5 sessions, which are very insightful, and we are in the process of editing the video, and you can later access it on the platform in omahalgori.org. Next. And tomorrow we will have a special session inviting youngsters and young gun about Tua Keladi, the old mine. We refer it as old men who already master and because of that they in the young body, and they have a good platform to be shared in this session. And tomorrow we'll have from Rembuk Ars about. He will tell us about the philosophy of symbiosis, which we are looking forward to attend the session. You can register it at bit.ly/omah.ttk1, or you can access it directly from our Instagram. We will have a live session, so stay tuned tomorrow in 7 p.m. at Indonesian time, Jakarta Indonesian time. Next. We are organizing some young event also about Darah Muda, which inviting young architect who very well talented, and you can also hearing them in live session, which will be conducted every day in each month at 7 p.m. And this month we will have Akbar Frisky Agniputra, and you can register it directly on bit.ly/omah muda 3. Next. And we are conducting one new events about hermits of architecture. We will explore how the discourses in architecture are being implemented creatively and about the 5 session about nous, techne, episteme, phronesis, and sophia. We will start it in the next month. So please, if you're interested, register in bit.ly/omah_hermits. Next. And about today's session, we will have Roseliu Sharif as our moderator to lead us on this session from the presentation to the discussion. So I will invite Roseliu at the session today. Hello, Roseliu.
Hello, Satya. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your camera is. Yeah, great. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Okay, good evening, restless spirits. Good evening as well, Markus Roselieb, the guy that I met in Archifest, Singapore. I believe in 2018, or I met as well him in the World Architecture Festival in Amsterdam. It's my duty to have a prologue for Markus and Chiangmai Architects' work. What we can see in his work, Markus wrote that his dream is to introduce bamboo as a valid and highly functional material to the general construction industry and to the general public, not only as a niche material for research or eco-villas. In his title is the bamboo engineering, the next context. And this can also redefine what is next and what is current and what is the past. And in this presentation, we can see that in his journey, he always has curiosity to understand where he is and the current context, and then they realize. And there are many possible contexts waiting to be explored. And that's where it gets interesting. His intention to make a bamboo more popular and free it from the current image as a poor man's timber. And we need to work on he need to work on the many different angles. He said that his time on this planet is running short, and bamboo can help to reduce global climate change, as well as add smile to the individual's daily life. What we can see from the last week, while Elora and David, which I designed, shared about the beautiful structure of bamboo. And it ends with such a dialogue that in the bamboo architecture, it needs to have a dialogue between the craftsmen, engineers, and craft and architects. And that's where the multidisciplinary is integrated. And it's also noted that there has been a lack of research on the bamboo architecture. And that makes the context for IBUKU research on the bamboo architecture. And that possibly makes the context of the why Markus said that it's the next context of I can possibly say is the bamboo engineering. What I can see from the Markus with the Chiangmai Life Architects, there are much of the next context of engineering bamboo. What has been the current and future research in Chiangmai Architects for the bamboo construction that we can see in his presentations. That in some of the images that's been published, we can see more adaptive bamboo method using a certain efficient trusses combination with other materials, which somehow creating hybrid architecture. And where it claimed to be lasted for 50 years, the question is possibly, can it be more than that? What is do and what is don't that needs to be mindful for designing architecture made of bamboo. So without waiting for a long time, Markus, we shall invite you to the front stage. Okay, Markus.
Thank
Hello,
you.
Markus. Thank you for your willingness to share in Oma Library. And it's many of the people here cannot wait to hear your presentations.
Thank you very much, Ulrich. I'm really honored that you invited me to have a talk at Oma Library. I was very much looking forward to that.
Okay, wonderful. Do you want to share the presentation? Do you want to share the screen, Markus?
Okay, let me just have a couple of words first, if I may.
Sure.
I find that the title you chose is very interesting. Context is a very interesting word because it can be liberating and it can be restrictive at the same time. You know, if you see that there's a certain context that you have to adhere to, then it might, you know, restrict your work. But if you realize that the context is really something that can be redefined at any moment, then it becomes quite liberating. And you know, a lot of the current context around the world, maybe not for us because we are in this area already, but the current context is still that bamboo is a short-lasting construction material. It is used to build small huts that deteriorate quickly, or farmers to weave baskets. This is sort of the initial context, the starting point. And with this context comes the image of bamboo being poor man's timber, because context creates image, right? So, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not debating the importance of the initial context. We all start in our own specific environment. Everybody has a specific context, and it is important to understand where we come from, where we start, and incorporate everything that is there. But in my opinion, now we have to move on from there as boldly as possible. We urgently need to take bamboo architecture to the next level, that answers the demands and the needs of the 21st century. And in order to change the image, we have to change the context. A very good example is actually your own Guha studio extension, which I like very much. It's a beautiful modern design with structural implications and creating a new context. And you see there's, of course, others creating their own context, as we've heard in your previous talks. And there's endless different angles, and everyone will have to find the one that fits his dreams and his abilities best. So my dream, as we said before, is to introduce bamboo as a valid and highly functional material to the general construction industry and to the general public. We at Chiangmai Life Architects, we are trying to create a context and image that is accessible to a broad middle class. Our path is to instill trust and faith in the client that bamboo architecture is worth considering through an emphasis on engineering, because everybody trusts and understands the value and principle of engineering. And it's easy to pick people up at something that they trust. Sometimes if we are too far out with our design and our ideas, then they have to take a big leap of faith, and only a few will do that. So we are trying to balance the exciting with the familiar. And that comes from our philosophy of combining and bringing different things together, opposites together that were sometimes believed of not having anything to do with each other, like traditional knowledge and state-of-the-art technology, or, you know, inside and outside, natural materials with contemporary modern design. And that's why we chose this title, Bamboo Engineering, to open bamboo to the context of the present world, where engineering is playing a major role in promoting and legitimizing construction materials. You know, some may opt to stay only with bamboo, which is fine. Everyone has their own expression. Ours is trying to find like the best of both worlds and fusing them together for a new and modern design that might appeal to a broad base of today's customers. Okay, enough talk. Let me go to the, so how does it work again? Share screen?
Yes, share screen, Markus.
Okay, there we go. Does it work?
Yes, it works.
Okay.
Very well.
That's very good. So, Let me see. So there's the talk, bamboo engineering, the next context. We started with this having had the task to build a sports hall that would fit futsal, basketball, badminton, mini volleyball, etc., without, of course, any posts in the middle of the whole place. With bamboo, as you know, building big structures, the problem is the connections, especially end-to-end connections. After you reach the end of a 9-meter pole or whatever your specific end is, then you have to connect, and the leverage at the end is where the weakness of the bamboo is. That is why we started to look at using trusses, and trusses together with a structural engineer. In Thailand, we have this kind of bamboo that has almost no hole, that consists mainly of longitudinal fibers. The one in the yellow one, I just put the one with the hole on the top to, as opposed to other ones. So some of the bamboo species are tubes, but some are rods. And we have this species, Thysostachys oliveri, that are these kind of rods. So if you put several of them together, you can connect them longitudinally. So we avoid the end-to-end connections that are the weak point. At the same time, we create a bundle that is like a steel cable, a lot of small fibers coming together, which is a lot stronger than only having one big pole or one big structure. And at the same time, of course, having a lot of little ones coming together makes it more flexible. And then we connect these bundles with bamboo dowels in different directions, 3-dimensionally, to cover every kind of force on the bundle. And these bundles, as you can see, they can, of course, be made indefinitely long. It depends on us where we stop. We got there, of course, making models first, like everyone else. Making big bamboo structures without models, I find this would be rather impossible, for us at least. And then we had this idea of really making these trusses first on site, and having an engineer really calculate for us, like you see on this picture, how many of this Thysostachys oliveri that is 6 centimeters wide do we need for the bottom part of the truss. And you see, that's where engineers for me come in, and I think engineers will play a more and more important role in big bamboo construction in the future, because talking to our engineer, he just looked at me and he said, 10. That's so refreshing. As a guy just pulls out one number. If you talk to other architects, it could be 8 to 15 or whatever. The guy just looked at me with, engineers a bit humorless, sometimes just 10. And on the top, how many do we need? 8. Oh, perfect. That's where you can start really working. You have clear numbers, he calculated everything. And so we prefabricated all those trusses on site first, and then, used the crane, which was a task in the beginning. We had to understand how to connect this to the lifting points and everything. And then we put them all together as per the design of the structural engineer, and then we connected them longitudinally and diagonally. And after some time, we could start to bring our curves in. And here you see, one of those simulations that one of the engineers did. Actually, we used 2 different engineers independently. We had our own house engineer, Fun Nguyen, who calculated everything. And then I also asked Esteban Morales Montoya in Colombia to see and verify what we were doing, in order to compare these 2 engineers and see, is there a big difference and what do we have to do? And they came up with roughly the same things, and each of them contributed something that the other one didn't have. So having two was very useful for us to come up with this. This, of course, at that time, that's already 3-4 years ago, was quite new in bamboo architecture, and therefore won us, a lot of awards. But that, besides this, it's very functional and people love it. They come in and say, wow, this is beautiful. And until today, the children really love to play in there. The parents come and gather. Here you see something very interesting that we learned from organic design with bamboo architecture. After rain, you see the roofs are wet, but there's a certain layer under the opening of the second layer of roofs that is still dry. So even though we have a huge opening there for daylight and ventilation, it's over 2 meters, it never rains in there. We find that the winds actually follow organic structures, like follow the wing of an airplane or so. If you have a straight roof, the wind likes to hit it and go under it and lift it or something. But if we have curved roofs, the winds just flow around with the curves, and that it has never brought, even at the heaviest rainstorms with winds, it never brought rain into these overlaps. And yeah, it has just become very popular and was a very helpful structure for the school, but also for promoting bamboo, for bringing more love into the place. And yeah, so we did then experiments, of course, with different kind of trusses. This is for a little bit smaller structures, still using the same bamboo bundle principle, and creating arches, basically. I am very much in favor of round and organic forms. I'm not a big friend of rectangular structures, as you might have noticed. So arches, and also, I grew up in Europe. You have this Roman churches, the Gothic churches, you see huge arches supporting enormous buildings. It has always impressed me very much. So that's what we are trying to use here. In the beginning, we used even another kind of truss, this kind of V structure. And here we also connected things with dowels, sometimes with very big dowels, as you can see here. And then the big dowels are locked in with smaller dowels. And that, for us, worked a lot better than using nuts and bolts, because it just doesn't crack the bamboo. You hardly can see it. And of course, for the size that we're using is very, very strong. And also these trusses, then, we had to lift them up. Usually we lift them on the rammed earth walls that we were doing, and then connect them longitudinally. Coming back to this combining and connecting at the core of our design philosophy, nature, high tech, inside, outside, natural materials with state-of-the-art engineering knowledge, but also traditional know-how with contemporary space feeling. Here we come back, contemporary design. Here we had a customer who wasn't so much into bamboo, but who subscribed to our philosophy of using natural materials, and also natural ventilation. On top, you will see here the mosquito screens, a very tall building. It has excellent natural ventilation. It's always cool inside. So, sometimes we want to prove that we can do more modern design. He wanted a modern Thai house. Of course, I always sneak in a little bit of bamboo left here or there if possible, but we gave them what they wanted. All the walls are made of earth, and the roof is made of hardwood. Then we combine with earth. Why earth? Insulation, thermal mass, zero carbon footprint, long lasting, beautiful, more or less the same as bamboo, right? So we found that earth as a material with bamboo go very well together. Earth has the advantage of the thermal mass for walls, which bamboo doesn't have. In some areas of the world, like in Bali in Indonesia, you're lucky. You don't have cold winters. You don't need thermal mass. But like up here in Chiangmai, in the wintertime, 5 to 8 degrees outside, bamboo walls just wouldn't cut it. So you need something that can keep things warm in winter and also cool in summer. Because in summer we have 45 degrees. So our variation of temperature in Chiang Mai is very high. If we look at, if we just compare earth and cement walls, you will see that, earth is a good thermal insulator, which cement, of course, is. Noise insulation, wound filling is great, sustainability is there. In structure strength and longevity, both come out. So it's just a superior product for a wall. Just as bamboo, in my opinion, is a superior product for a roof. We use 3 different kinds of techniques: adobe bricks, which are sun-baked bricks that are made of a clay, sand, and then rice husks, or our bamboo shavings as small organic components. And we reinforce the walls, of course, with bamboo. And the advantage is that with adobe bricks, you can make all kinds of round forms. Excuse me. Then we use rammed earth walls. You have to use formwork. So rammed earth is maybe a little bit more complicated. You have to have a bit more knowledge to make it work. You ram it in 10 centimeter layers that we ram down to 5 centimeters. And become structurally very strong walls that can take loads. Like the whole roofs of our roofs are on these rammed earth walls. And the third method we're using on top of these rammed earth walls is wattle and daub, where we have a bamboo structure. And here you see how it looks like when it's finished. Bamboo structure that we then fill with a different kind of mix again. Here, this is earth with long fibers, with grass. And because we have this bamboo structure on both sides, there's a air pocket in the middle that helps to insulate, at the same time makes it lighter. That's why we put it on the bamboo wall on this previous one, because it's very light and it's good noise insulating. The rammed earth, again, is a totally different mix. It's mainly stones and clay. So all these 3 techniques have different function, and therefore we use it on different spaces. And we like to design with nature, flow with nature signs. If you look at the mountain ridge in the back and the meditation sala in the front and the flowing lines of nature, we just try to incorporate it. Or this is this private meditation place where we deliberately put things in as if they have grown there over a long time, and copy on the mountain ridge, and just bring something into a space, not put it on top of a space. Or also at the school, if you see the roofs, how they're coming in and weaving in and out of each other. These are the kind of things we really like. Also, the big hall basically was inspired by the lotus flower. We cut it, put it in half, and then you have the layered roof that kind of has its origin in the lotus flowers. And when we do something like here, we like to do things on an organic way that creates a grown feeling of a natural village. Or we had this place once where we had to design a tent on an island, and we used the fruit that was there called banta fruit to create this image. Or how to put a restaurant on a beach without, destroying the beach. This one would have grown out of the beach and then slowly sickered into the beach again. Unfortunately, it never happened, but it was an interesting project. Energy efficient, of course, natural ventilation, designed to keep things cool. The southwest sides, we usually don't put windows, but we put the bottles in there because the bottles bring in the light, but don't bring in the heat. So when the sun comes down in the afternoon and the walls are hit by the sun, then the room doesn't get hot, and the glass and the light comes in from the north and the east side. Natural light are also from the top, like this one. Here in this picture, there's no artificial light switched on. This is all natural light. Bathrooms you like to do half open, also to guarantee the ventilation. We have a very humid climate in Chiang Mai, many parts of Thailand. So closed bathrooms always have this problem of fungi growing everywhere. So open bathrooms, half open bathrooms that are covered. And then the opening part, of course, is closed with a mosquito net to make sure no insects and other things can come inside, but the natural ventilation helps. And as I said, bringing, combined with technology, we've got a lot of positive comment on how we brought in a very advanced chemistry room in our school. It is one of the best equipped chemistry rooms in Thailand, and then expose it to earth and bamboo. Or on top, these round things is the latest technology from Samsung about cooling. There's a really cool stuff because they disperse cold air. They don't blow it down. So you never have a cold blow in the neck, but the whole room just becomes like, a different kind of climate. This is really cool technology. At the same time, there's a central control and the Wi-Fi. So you can actually turn all these things on and off and control them on your mobile phone. Computers and all of these things, of course. With bamboo, it's easy to do cool design. So, but I still had to do a heart at least once. So this is the science building. Looks like a heart and more in the evening light. This is our music hall from the outside where we had to build once on one side a hall for bigger events and for rehearsals, and then on the other side 4 small rooms for individual teachings. Here's the music hall from the inside. The entrance a little bit inside by Santiago de la Calatrava with his wings that he likes to do and then bring them down. And then again, trying to modernize everything with a cool design for the name. Here we put little caves, cubby holes into the rammed earth walls, and the children really love to sit in there together and talk and do things. Here's what I'm very proud of this one, because the guy in the middle is a guy who's been behind us and sponsoring things, but the people on his left and right are his financial advisors from Singapore. These people are about as far away from natural architecture as you can imagine, because they sit in the ivory tower, in Singapore. And they come here and they just smile from the beginning to the end. And that is what we want to achieve. You see, we bring people into something and they just can't help smiling. They see something and they were so proud to be part of this, and it sticks in their minds. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to create smiles. Here's an older project. It's a family home, more on the hippie side with open roofs and a lot of interesting interior decor. The open bathroom, and so each room here is like a single tent, a single pyramid by itself, and the roof is a huge roof, and the air can flow under the roof, and thus the rooms are kept cool. Sunset sala, where you can sit and watch the sunset from the hills. This one was interesting. We had to bring together a teaching center with natural materials and us with in the biggest agricultural university in Thailand, Thammasat University. They teach chicken farming. The big ugly square building is a typical chicken farm, how to raise chicken in 28 days. We wanted to loosen things up and being as irregular and unpredictable as possible with the roof, using an entrance a little bit reminding Chinese, because a lot of the professors are Thai Chinese. And then playing around also here, you see actually the square windows where the people looking. You're not allowed to walk into that building because of bacterial and all this kind of infections, but you can watch the life of the chicken through the eyes of the chicken. So we used a very good spray artist, a famous spray artist, to create this and loosen things up a bit. And this is the connection between our bamboo and this building through art. For just a short one on bamboo, we all know the tensile strength, the lightweight, the carbon negativity, but this is the one, local production profit. I like this one because it has a macroeconomic aspect and the socioeconomic aspect. Because for me, bamboo can replace steel in many ways, and steel usually is produced, centrally by one big company, or even imported if a country is too small to have its own steel production from the big guys, Mittel or whatever. So a lot of money leaves the country or goes into one or two hands. Whereas with bamboo, it doesn't. And right now with steel, because of the problem with COVID, so steel prices have gone up because you have to import the stuff. But with bamboo, it doesn't. So the impact on the whole country in the macroeconomic way and in the socioeconomic way is quite enormous. If we can promote bamboo, then a lot of money will stay with the small people on the space. And another small word, so this is it. As our whole team, we're not more than these two. This is my incredibly talented and industrial partner, junior partner, Samad. Without him, I couldn't have done anything, but it's just the two of us. Once in a while, we have an intern. We had a good one for the last 2 years. Caro Rivadeneira, she just left back to Ecuador, so it's back to the two of us. So yeah, everything that you saw is a team of two, and here's actually the complete team. In front is our engineering team. Phuong Nguyen, a Dutch-Vietnamese engineer who made the big bamboo hall possible by collecting all the data and designing it. So it was just 3 people. So not always necessary to have huge teams to achieve something. Thank you very much.
Such amazing presentation, Markus. I have a curiosity. The question will be, I'll just ask the question first. It's about the perspective. Because this is like a discourse class about the bamboo architecture. It's more than like a description class of the bamboo architecture. In our practice, there is a stigma that bamboo architecture should use bamboo as a holistic material, and you're trying to use like a hybrid material. I know that you are trying to use like combinations between materials. I think, are you open to use like a more than like a ramp earth, or what's your view about it? What is your view about the combination of this material, more adaptive or more hybrid, or what's your thoughts about it?
I'm not really sure in which, if I may say, context now you're asking. You're asking in a possible, what is possible to combine, or whether we should combine it. I'm not sure I get what you really want to know from me.
Sure. What's the possibility to combine, and what's the criteria to combine the material?
Well, the reason why I combined the earth and the bamboo is because I wanted to build only with natural materials, and they complement each other. The earth is more like concrete. It has a high load-bearing capability, right? And it has thermal mass, and it is a good noise insulator, and it creates a room feeling, a safe room feeling, a steady feeling. And the bamboo, bamboo roofs are just so iconic. The bamboo gives the whole thing the shape and the talk and the expression, right? So, and because it's lightweight, of course, all these earthen walls can easily take the weight of the bamboo. So for me, the combination was quite obvious when I had to create rooms that talk to people, that are useful the whole year round. Because in summer I need to keep the heat out, in winter I need to keep the cold out, and with this combination, it works very well. So most of the things we did came from a functional perspective.
Yes, that's right. It's a functional perspective. I'm trying to just redefining the context of the function itself, where there's like the availability of ramp earth and everything. But I'll just jump to the discussion in the chat box, Markus. there is some to make the time efficient. I'll just read some of the questions from the Contextual Method. Thanks for the opportunity to ask how to determine the shape of the flexible building. The space first, or the space is from the shape of the building?
What was the beginning of the question?
How to determine the shape of the flexible building?
Oh,
The space, or you define the shape first, or how's the integration between the engineer? I mean,
so
how's your
we start very traditional, like a normal architect. First comes function. I have to understand how many square meters, what is going to happen in there, who is going to use the space, and what is the flow in the specific location, where do people come in or go out, and who is coming from where. So a very traditional way in terms of really understanding the function first. And then using that as my main guideline to design the form. And once I have the form, then the space gets created. And once I have the space, I can go back to the form, and that is a back and forth. And of course, the function comes back in, but always very function oriented.
Okay, I'll just extend to another question, Markus. How's your view on the budget constraint on the bamboo architecture? Where did you do the budget calculation in your design methodology? This is a very interesting client, because some of the clients just came, for example, in our studio, just came for, okay, I know that bamboo is cheap, so can you just design a bamboo architecture for us? So, I mean, I'll just ask for the bamboo constraint. When did you come up in the budget constraint in your design methodology?
That is a very good question. So here is a decision that we have to take and stick with. I find we are not cheap. We are not cheap, and we're not trying to be cheap. I never compete on price. And I'm saying this very directly to the clients in the very beginning. We're not very expensive either. We're sort of in the upper range of normal construction, but in the upper range. And this is like this one photo of this horse where the client wants this beautiful horse, and then he goes on with the price, and the horse gets simpler. In the end, it is just a simple line, what he really gets. So I tell the client, this is what we do. You come to me because of this, because we design something for you that is functional, beautiful, lasts long, and will bring you on the front page of a magazine. This is why you come to me. If you come to me to build something that is gone next year, is cheap, then go to the next guy in your village. They all can do that. You don't need me for that. I won't do it, because I want to position my company and bamboo in a different bracket. If I start to cheat on bamboo, then we never get to the image of bamboo that I want to create. So I'm rather uncompromising on this.
And how about your view about the question of is it durable, or how long gonna it last? I mean, there is many of the clients as well, asking for. I mean, is it going to be lasted for only 5 years, for example, or only 3 years? So what's your take on it?
I think we have to clearly differentiate. Bamboo, like any other natural material, if it is not exposed to the wind and the rain, to the elements, there's no reason why it shouldn't last 50 to 80 to 100 years, because it is the elements that deteriorate it. So we have to know how to design that our main structure of a building is not exposed to the elements. The main structural parts have to be safe. And then the main building will last. There's no reason to believe why it doesn't last 50 to 100 years. We have bamboo poles that are older than that are used for other things. But the outside layer of the roof, because our roofs are also built with bamboo shingles, of course, that part will deteriorate faster because it's fully exposed to the rain and the sun. And like wooden shingles on the roof or anything else, it will definitely deteriorate faster. in the beginning, because of our lack of knowledge, these roofs lasted about eight years, but now now it's about 15 years, maybe 20 years. So in the end, I find, yes, they deteriorate faster than the non-exposed parts, but any cheap normal shingle will also not last much longer, because they can crack. Whereas our bamboo roofs that become one skin when we are finished, they don't crack. Anything can fall on them. It can hail on them. Big trees can fall on them. They just bounce off because the bamboo is flexible and the roof itself stays intact and doesn't leak. Yeah. So, I'm very clear with the client on that. And in the end, if we have to replace the roof, the outer shingles, we don't really have to take them off, only the things that are deteriorated, and just put another layer on top. The more layers are on top, actually, the better the cooling effect. And weight is not a problem, right? Because our structures the roof itself the bamboo has no weight. And the structural part underneath can take 10 times what's on there, so.
Yeah, I can learn from the structure of Venice, you just put everything on top, and everything on top is going to be stronger and stronger and better insulations.
Exactly.
I mean, we just need to deconstruct all of this construction technique to be more adaptive. I think I do find a friend tonight, Markus. I'll just continue the question from the people in here, from the Indah Amalia, I think. We have tackled some of the. Is there any of the special treatment for maintenance and taking care of bamboo building, Markus?
I think with bamboo, I'm not saying anything new. The most important part is the right selection of age. I mean, that's where really 80% of your quality will come from. If your bamboo is, if you can select it 4 to 6 years old, which is for most species the best time, every species a bit different, but 4 to 6 years, then your fiber content is high, your sugar content is low, and that bamboo will last. And then if you additional treat it, we use borax and boric acid, then because salt also doesn't go anywhere, right? Once the salt is inside, borax is a natural salt also. It's used for food preservation, so it's non-toxic. Children can lick the bamboo and they're not gonna get sick because that stuff is in the little meatballs in Thailand to keep them nice and bouncy anyway. So there's no downside to treating with these with borax and boric acid in terms of toxicity or being a chemical material. It's just a natural material. And once you do that, then the bamboo will last and need no more treatment.
Okay, very interesting. I think there is one question, Markus, about the more philosophical way of looking things from Panurudin. I think he said that it's interesting that this architecture was built on the philosophy of nature and high technology, including a strong ecological reasoning. He asking about the relation to the COVID-19 situation. For example, like how adaptive is this structure in anticipating the need of the open space and safe distancing? I don't know. Probably you can respond on this, Markus. But that's why I call it like a philosophical question about reflections on our Earth right now.
All right. You mean it's safe distance because of COVID? Is that?
Yes.
For COVID, open spaces are the best, right? The more open air you have, the safer space is. The more closed and small the room is, the easier transmission can take place. So in that sense, open halls are always safer than closed halls, and natural ventilation helping to, especially if the hot air goes up and taking things out. So here you have a very safe ventilation plus space. I mean, we had this in the beginning. We designed all our buildings with natural ventilation. Unfortunately, they started to burn the woods and the fields in the last 5-6 years so heavily that during 2 months in Chiang Mai, you can almost not breathe. We become the highest polluted city in the world in March and April. So we had to close all these spaces, and we put in a specific air cleaning technology that creates positive pressure rooms where the air is blown into the room through 2 or 3 different kinds of filters, HEPA filter, carbon filter, whatever. So inside the air stays very clean. And because there's positive pressure, it is blown out. And at the same time, oxygen is blown in. So we have an advantage now over traditional classrooms that are closed, but where oxygen is depleted over time by 25, 30 kids in a small room, we are blowing continuously fresh oxygen into the rooms. And this system, of course, is also very good for transmission prevention.
Markus, I want to extend the question. Like in 1920, in about 1920s in Indonesia, you know, there's like a devastation of the bamboo architecture because of the mice and the mouse used to have a nest inside the bamboo architecture. Do you have that kind of problem right now? And or what's the situations in Chiang Mai, for example, to let know the context? Because we have the bamboo architecture we used to have, but it's like a vanish, not vanish, because of the government. I mean, asking for like a health requirement and things like that. Do you have that kind of thing in your practice?
You see, there's 2 things to that. The mice, they like small spaces, right, where they can feel safe and where they can live. And these small spaces are usually in the roof. So we have to be very precise when we hear these things. In Indonesia, you use a lot of the grass roofs, of the thick grass roofs, right?
Yeah.
So my suspicion would be that the mice were not in the bamboo, but in the grass roof. Why do I say that? Because in the beginning, we built our roofs with 2 layers and the space in between, because I had this idea that the air pocket will increase the thermal insulation, right? And I very quickly abandoned that, because not only mice, snakes, everybody crawled into this space, you know, and nobody wanted to be in a room with all these things in there. So it was not the bamboo itself that attracted it, but the design of the space. And I've seen also in other places, when you have a thick roof of something that's easily digestible, like grass roofs, the animals go inside and make their pockets inside.
Yeah.
So I would be questioning that because how can the mouse get into the bamboo? Our bamboo is all 4 to 6 years old. It's quite hard. They don't want to eat this stuff. Maybe, because in the 1920s, they had the wrong selection of bamboo. They used 1 or 2 year old bamboo with no fibers, all sugar. Then sure. But I think with our selection, probably the same as yours. No, I don't worry about the mice because of the bamboo. The mice is a design problem. You just have to keep spaces out.
Okay, I can see that's like a design problem in the layers in between the membranes, and then the selections of the bamboo. I think we should put a note on that. I think there is like a question from the Febri and Fiantoro, but I think we have discussed about it, about how bamboo can withstand the weather. But the next question will be from the Nicole Sydney. She want to ask about how do you deal with the local craftsmanship with the complexity of the bamboo construction that may be proposed in the new way, or the local craftsmen are not used to? It's very interesting, because last discussion we had discussion with Elora and David as well, where the local craftsmen, are you sure they can do that? I mean, what's your take for that kind of issues?
I think we have a similar situation. Maybe you actually in Bali, they had a bit more advantage than us. To be very honest, there's no such thing as local craftsmanship for bamboo architecture. That doesn't exist in Thailand, at least. In Bali, it was probably there for more simple architecture, as Elora said. Everything complex is being taught by us to them. The advantage of the local craftsmen is, as Elora said, the same thing, that they bring the feel for the material. They bring the feel. So they know, how much can I bend this? Where do I have to stop? Which kind of bamboo can I, put together? They will automatically turn one around to have the thicker part, the thinner part. They have a lot of feel for the material, and therefore also they understand very quickly. But to build the buildings that we build now, we had to train them all. And now they've become, unique craftsmen, very good. They've built a lot of roofs. I mean, we've built 60 roofs like this already. So, I don't have to show up anymore. Since long time, they're much better than me. If I make a model, they can look at the model and say, here, maybe we do something else, and they're mostly right then, because they are the guys up there, right? So now it becomes fun. We can go back and forth, but local craftsmanship has to be trained.
So bringing the new context for them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Markus, I think this is very, very amazing discussion. I love the sharing and I love the discussion. It's like deconstruct some of the current context, and I think in Indonesia we can always reflect on what you have said about to understand critically about the weakness of each of the bamboo. I think we need to understand our own bamboo resources. I think that's one of the keyword from the availability of the resources. I think I'll just sum up into the conclusion. Do you want me to conclude first, or you want to have a closing statement, and I can conclude it for you?
Oh, please go ahead. You're much better at this than I am.
Oh my God. Okay. I'll just conclude Markus' presentation and dialogue into the context on between why we in Indonesia have this kind of discourse of the bamboo architecture, because some of the thinking that the next levels of how we can critically rethink about the resources in the architecture is how we can adapt many of the materials, including bamboo, in the architecture itself. We know that we are in the pressure of the high density, like the low density of the city and the rural and things like that. But in the Markus presentation, his and his team architecture of the bamboo is a transformational, I think. One thing he redefined the bamboo architecture started from the nowhere. I think he said something like that. I mean, again, bringing no local craftsmen and then bringing it to the next context. Transformational meaning that it's not stopped in with the bamboo architecture itself, but bringing more hybrid architecture and recontextualizing into, I can call it like a ramp art architecture. And there he can have like a more flexibility. And then he said that the availability of material is very important, like the selection of the materials. That can I sum up into bringing the new context, meaning that we need to understand what's the availability on site. And he said that we can use like a simple preservation material, like a use boric acid, and then bringing the preservations with a very easiness. I assume that, and I can see that they don't start with forms at the beginning. They start with the functions, and then the magnificent thing that Markus and the team, they have trained a lot of bamboo craftsmen now, and they're like having a new context of themselves. And I believe that the ecosystem of bringing bamboo into the front stage in the, can call it like a next discourse will comes alive. So I'm really, really grateful to have these discussions, like a more tactical discussions, more like engineering discussions. And I believe that this kind of the world of Markus and his teams in. So I really deeply thank you, Markus. Say thank you for your honest sharing to recontextualizing the future of the bamboo context. So do you want to have a closing statement for us in the OMA library, Markus? You should have to.
Yes, one thing I didn't say, I want to say is, don't be afraid to make mistakes. We made a lot of mistakes, and it was through these mistakes, of course, that you learn most. I know this sounds so old, but you have to try things that come to your mind. Don't be afraid of trying whatever comes to your mind. Some things will work out, some things will only work out half, and some won't. And I think if we are too afraid of trying things out, nothing will move forward. So my encouragement is really to go ahead and dream and try to do it. I had no idea about bamboo architecture when I started, so you can't be more zero than I was. I guarantee you. So whatever we did, I think many people can do, and everybody has to find and will find their own path. So I think that will be the interesting thing in the next 10 years. Many people will come up and we can learn a lot from each other, and, you know, stop watching like I watch Roseliu's work. It's nice stuff. Anyway, thank you so much. I think what you're doing at OMA Library is, you know, it's important. It's really good, and all the best.
Yes, thank you, Marcus. We're gonna put this one into editing and send it to you in case you wanna say it, and it's put it in your archive. And
Yeah, I cannot watch myself. I'm very sorry, but I'm happy to. I'm happy to post it on our video site.
all of the people here in OMA Library are laughing, you know, like that. You know, so I'll need to just thank you for Hanifa, Nirma, and Satria for arranging this one, and especially Satria for hosting this one, and Hanifa for coordinations, as well as Nirma for the taking notes. And then say thank you to all of the restless spirits. Marcus, I hope that we can see you in Chiang Mai after
Yes,
the corona.
please. Always welcome, Village. Everybody, okay. I would love to see you here.
Fantastic. Okay, please see Marcus and the team work in the Instagram of Chiangmai Life Architects. So I think it's amazing preposition of bamboo architecture. So I'll just give it back to Satria, I think, for closing the session. Thank you, Marcus.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Roseliu, for the session. It was great and an insightful presentation, and we learned a lot as well. So in this, the end of the session, we will have photo together. So please turn on your camera and give us your smiles to us for the documentation. Okay, please be ready with your camera and your face and everything you want to show to us. Okay, are you ready? Okay, let's start with the first slide. 1, 2, 3. The second one, 1, 2, 3. And the third one, 1, 2, 3. And the last one. Okay, thank you for joining us today, and we can wait you for joining us again in the next week. We will have Paulus Pintarga, and he will share about the build, and I think it will be also the one of the greatest presentation as well. So thank you for tonight, and thank you, Marcus, thank you, Roseliu, and thank you, Omar, and everybody here. Goodbye.